Hello everyone, welcome to IP Study video lectures. Today we are discussing grade 6 science chapter, The Power of Scientific Inquiry. In this chapter we will cover the topics: what is scientific inquiry, think like a scientist, the joy of asking why, and how can you act like a junior scientist. Welcome to the fascinating world of science. So whenever we are studying science, we are inquiring and we are learning about the surrounding and we are making some hypothesis, experimenting something and then reaching to a conclusion. So it's not about only memorizing the fact when we study the science, or we cannot say that we are only learning the equations. We are exploring the world, we are exploring the surrounding and we are knowing about different phenomena which are happening around us. You must have wondered why the sky is blue. Have you ever thought like that? Or why the water is colorless? Pure water has no color. How birds are able to fly? Why the color of sky changes during the sunset? Or what happens when clouds appears atmosphere or it brings rain? So how these things are happening, these are making us curious to know about these different phenomena. First of all, we will discuss about what is scientific inquiry. So scientific inquiry is a systematic way of exploring the nature or exploring our surroundings. It involves asking questions, also making observations. Based on those observations, we create hypothesis, we form hypothesis, and then we plan an experiment and perform or conduct that experiment. During the experiment, we also make some observations, we make some statement based on the outcomes of the experiments, and then we write our conclusions about the findings or the learnings we have found during the experiments. You gather clues, make guesses and test your ideas to make various discoveries. That's how we find out about new things and learn about the surroundings. That's how exactly scientific inquiry works, and that's how the scientists work around us to explore the surroundings and to find out and learn about new things and make conclusions. Now, understand how do scientists think. So, think like a scientist. So, what do you do when you start learning about the surroundings? You make observations. What are these observations? You keenly learn, you keenly see the surrounding. Science starts with observation. It is very essential step. It is the first step towards scientific inquiry. This involves carefully noticing every detail, very fine details about the world. Every day you might observe different things around you, like the color of the sky, the weather, the temperature of the air, the design of the dress of your friend or your teacher or your parents, the smell of the food that you have in your lunchbox, the moving vehicles. Some of the vehicles might appear moving very slow and some at very high speed. You might observe some birds can fly very high and some takes only short flights. You may observe the squirrels jumping from one branch to other branch. Is it possible that every animal behave in the same manner, like squirrel also fly like a bird and the bird jump from one branch to other like a squirrel? They do not copy each other. They behave differently and we observe these differences carefully when we learn about their behavior. Some of them might drive you think about why this is happening. So do you think that why some vehicles are moving slow? Why bird is flying? Keenly noticing every detail of color, weather, design is called the observation. So when we are practicing this keen observation, we are moving to the first step of being a scientist. What are the features which are helping us to observe our surroundings? These are our sense organs. What are the sense organs? Our eyes, nose, tongue, skin and ears. Let's take one example through this activity to observe the surrounding. Take two potted plants. One should be kept in the sunlight and keep the other one in the dark room. And leave it for a day. Water both the plants before starting this process. So after few days, what you will notice that one of the plant will grow well and the other plant will wilt. Which of the plant will wilt here? The plant which is kept in the dark room will wilt. It will not be healthier plant now, but the other plant which was kept in the sunlight will grow better. So what do you observe? That one plant can wilt if it is not given the certain conditions. We will learn about these conditions further. Now, what comes in your mind? That what happened to that plant which is not growing or which was left in the dark room? So here, this activity lead you to make a question. Whenever you observe anything, you initially thought about a question. And what are these questions? How we frame these questions? These questions can start when this happened, where this happened, who did this, what happened and how this happened. Ask a question is the next step towards the scientific inquiry. For example, when you drop a ball, where does it go? It goes sideways, it goes up or it goes downward. More often, a ball is falling whenever you are dropping a ball from a certain height. Why does the ball fall instead of going up? So this is the question, that why can't it go sideways or it can't go upward when you are dropping the ball? These are the questions that you make when you are observing any change in your surrounding or any activity in your surrounding. Similarly, during ancient times, people used to observe their surroundings and try to find out answers for their questions. So when they are observing, they are making questions in their mind and then they are trying to find out the answer. That's how we proceed to the scientific inquiry. These steps led to different discoveries in the nature. For example, the discovery of fire. How did this happen? What do we need to initiate the fire? Or the discovery of wheel. So that's how observation leads us to make different questions. After making the questions, next step is forming a hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? Hypothesis is a guess. We guess if a ball is dropping, it may be heavier, and the balloon is rising, it may be lighter. So it can be one of the guess when we are comparing the ball with the balloon. Once we have a question in our mind, we all become curious to find out the answer. Thus, we form a hypothesis. So hypothesis is the best guess, best possible guess, depending on our understanding. It is a statement which we can test further through some experiments. For example, in the previous question about what plants need to grow, you can give a hypothesis like, I think plant needs sunlight to grow. A hypothesis is a proposed explanation based on limited evidences. Means we observed that one plant was kept in the sunlight, the other was kept in dark room. So we can assume or we can guess that sunlight was essential to support the growth of plant. So that's how we create or we form the hypothesis. And it is dependent on the observation or the conditions we have in the surroundings. Now check this activity. A researcher observes the following situation during a storm and heavy rainfall. Look at the image and provide a hypothesis. In this condition, after observing the image, I can conclude that lightning occurs during a thunderstorm, or the tall trees attract the lightning. So that's how, based on the given data or based on the given circumstances, we can analyze the things in the surrounding or during a phenomena or activity, and we create a guess. We write a guess, which is also known as our hypothesis. After making the hypothesis, we plan a sequence of activities which help us to test our hypothesis. This is called experiment. So experimentation is a key step in the scientific inquiry because it helps us to test our hypothesis. Experiments are done to test the hypothesis. To prove the hypothesis, a fair test is designed. What is the fair test? To design a fair test, we need to pick one factor, we need to choose one factor which can be variable. For example, in this experiment of the plant, we can change one condition here, which is the availability of sunlight, and the other plant is kept in dark room. So this is the one condition which helps us to create the hypothesis, and that's how we create a experiment here. What can be the other reason or other condition that can cause wilting of the plant? What if we do not water the plant? You keep the water, you keep irrigating or you keep giving water to one plant which is kept in the sunlight, and now do not give water to the other plant which is kept in the dark room. Again, we can observe the changes after few days and we can create a hypothesis, and after this experiment we can come to the conclusion that along with sunlight, water is also essential to support the growth of plant. Let's check this activity here. Plant need water to grow. This is one of the hypotheses that we have here. We need to test this hypothesis through the experiment. So here, through the activity number 3, we can test one variable which can affect the growth of plant. So in this activity, we will need two identical plant, two similar plant which are potted, and keep both the plant in the same environmental conditions, like keep both the plants in sunlight. Now what we are changing here, the variable is availability of water. So we, after labeling these plants as A and B, we will water plant A daily, but we will not give water to the plant B. What will happen after few days or 10 days? You will notice that plant B dies due to lack of water. So here we can conclude that water is essential for plant growth. Earlier, we tested this for the availability of sunlight. Now we are testing it for the availability of water. So here we can say that different factors can affect the growth of plant, and we can test more factors as well to find out which are required to support the growth of a plant. Now try another experiment. Try to design an experiment to check the role of water in rusting. What is rusting? Rusting is a chemical reaction where iron objects react with the oxygen present in air in presence of water or water vapor in the air. So we can say when moist air comes in contact with iron object, rust is formed, which is appeared in form of red deposits there, red or brown deposits. How will you test this? If you notice a rusted bench or rusted rod in your park, so you will think that something is painted over there. So this is one of the guess. Or we will see that it is growing after few more days, even if nobody is painting it. So something is happening in the nature. Some phenomena is occurring there. So we will write one hypothesis that some environmental conditions are affecting the iron objects or iron rod, and it is causing the reddish brown deposit, which is rust. Then you can test by creating an experiment here. So how can you test this? Take 2 iron nails, put 1 iron nail in a water container and keep 1 in the cotton. So what will happen? When you are keeping the 1 iron nail in cotton, the cotton will keep the iron nail dry, but the other nail is kept in water. So it is in direct contact with the water and air. So after 10-15 days or after a month, you will observe that the iron nail which is kept in the water, it will start showing you the appearance of red brownish spots over it, which is rust. But the other iron nail which is kept in the dry cotton, it is not rusting. So here we can conclude that moisture and the air is affecting, or we can say the water content is affecting the process here, or it is one of the cause of rusting. So that's how we can design different experiment to test different variables affecting one phenomena. During the experiments, we collect the data. Why we need to collect this data? For example, if we check the growth of the plant in the beginning of experiment, means we note down the length of the plant, and we can say we note down the number of branches or leaf, or the height and the conditions, like how does it looks. So that is the data we have collected, and after ending the experiment, we can check the data, again note down the data and compare previous and the ending data. So that's how when we can compare different conditions during the experiment, and this data help us to find out our conclusions. To conclude the experiment, data is collected. The data could be in any form of observation or measurement. For example, during the plant experiment, you measure the height of the plant, and you can notice that one plant is wilted. You cannot measure it same as it is not standing erect. If you test the rust, you might note how long it takes to appear reddish brown spots over the iron nail. So that's how you can calculate and measure different data. Analyze the result. At the ending of the experiment, analyze your observation and compare it with the observation which are made in the beginning of the experiment. For example, if the plant in sunlight grew taller than the one in the dark, the data supports the hypothesis that plant need sunlight to grow. If we do not have noted it down, we do not have collected the data, we will not be able to find out the conclusion. In case of rusting, the iron nail in water rust and the dry metal does not rust. So it was the first observation, the data collected in the beginning of experiment, that both iron nails do not have any reddish brown spots or the rust. But at the ending of the experiment, we can see and again make the observation, collect the data that one of the iron nail has rust and the other one does not have it. So that's how we can compare and analyze these data to draw our conclusions. Next step is drawing the conclusion. Based on the data collection and analysis, the conclusion is drawn. This is where you decide that the hypothesis made in the beginning is correct or not. If the hypothesis is not matching your conclusion, then we need to make another hypothesis, repeat the process, design another fair test, note down the observation, collect data, analyze the data, and then conclude it. That's how we can test different factors for different experiments. So from the earlier activities, what we have concluded here, do plants need sunlight to grow? Yes, plant needs sunlight to grow. Do plants need water to grow? Yes, water also affects the growth of plant. Does metal rust in water? Yes, water is one of the cause of rusting. The joy of asking why. What happens when you become curious, like a scientist? Every time you ask why, you are engaging in scientific inquiry. Let's understand this through some more examples. Why do we get thirsty after eating salty food? For example, when you eat salty snack, you become thirsty after some time. Does this happen same when you are eating any spicy food or sweet food, or you are drinking colas, or you are having milkshake, or you are having chocolates, candies or fruits? Is it the same effect after having those fruits? You can test this with different samples of food then observe, analyze the data and conclude. So that's how creating one question, being curious, help you to discover. How does a magnet pick up paper clips but not plastic? What happens when you bring a magnet close to the paper clip? These are attracted to the magnet. Does this happen with the same if you are using plastic bits or plastic clips? No, because plastic is a non-magnetic material and paper clips which we are using here are often made of iron, and iron is magnetic material. That's how the observation leads us to make a question and then test it with different variables and conclude that iron clips are magnetic material but plastic is non-magnetic material. Why does ice float in water but sink in oil? What happens when you mix oil and water? It seems mixing together, but when you leave it for a minute, you will see the oil start floating over the surface of water. And what happened with the ice? Ice is made up of water, but it floats on the surface of water. As soon as you use the same ice in the oil, it will sink at the bottom. And what is happening here? Here we are observing the behavior of a material, and accordingly we are designing one experiment and reaching to a conclusion. As the ice is made up of same material, which is water, it floats over the water because it is lighter than the water. But when you mix the ice to oil, oil starts floating over the ice. Why? Because ice is heavier than the oil. So that's how in different conditions, in different observation, we can find out the different results. After understanding these steps, can you become a junior scientist? Yes. You can start thinking like a scientist and you can act like a scientist by following the steps of scientific inquiry, and you will be a junior scientist. So let's revise these different steps, what we need to follow here to become a scientist. Think a question. First of all, when you see anything, try to think a question like why this thing is happening, what is happening, how this can be changed. So what is something you have always wondered about? Maybe why the sky changes color at sunset, or how ants find their home. If you observe the ants, they travel in a line. They follow each other on a trail. Have you ever thought about this, that why they are always following each other on a trail? And how do they find the food? How do they tell the other ants in the colony that where is the food available? So these are the different questions which help us to find out how these things happen in the surrounding. After making a question, which is also a helping us to create a hypothesis, we design an experiment. Design an experiment to test your question. This experiment should have simple steps which we need to follow, and we need to choose one variable at a time to find out the effect of that variable on the experiment. What material would you need for the experiment? We need to collect some materials, so make a list of those materials. Can you do it at home or in the classroom? Find out the place where you can perform that experiment without any interruptions. Or what conditions are required, like we need special materials which are available in your school laboratories only, or there are materials which can be available at home to conduct these experiments. Now conduct an experiment. Try to follow the steps which we have designed during the experiment and make observation during the experiment, that what type of changes are occurring there, what materials are required to proceed the experiments, and note down these as a data. After making the observations, compare and analyze this data with the conditions from at the beginning of the experiment and through the procedure. After completing the analysis, we can draw the conclusion which help us to find out whether our hypothesis was correct or wrong. That's how scientific inquiry is a powerful tool that helps us understand the world. It is not just as scientist in the laboratory, it is something you can also do every day. It is a life skill that we can adapt, we can learn through asking question, creating hypothesis, designing experiment and testing the hypothesis, and then collecting data, analyzing the data, also making the conclusion. So these are the simple steps that we can follow in our life to learn about our surroundings. And that's how we become a scientist, when we are observing our surrounding and we are learning about the surroundings. Thank you.